In the heart of the rolling African savanna, nestled among hills rich with baobab and acacia trees, lay the quiet village of Mbali. The village was alive with the gentle rhythm of life, woven together by traditions passed down through generations. Children laughed as they chased each other under the sun. Elders gathered to share stories by the fireside, and the village women sang together as they worked under the swaying trees, their voices rising and falling like the breeze. It was a place of peace, a home to people who held onto their customs with pride and reverence. Our story centres on a young man named Kofi. He was the son of a humble farmer, a kind-hearted soul who wore his sincerity like a second skin. Kofi was known for his resilience and dedication to his family and community, always putting others' needs above his own. With skin tanned by the sun and a gentle, hopeful gaze, he spent his days working the fields alongside his aging father and his younger siblings. To Kofi, his family was his world, and he poured his energy into ensuring they were happy and provided for. Although Kofi was admired by many, his heart belonged solely to Amma, the beautiful daughter of a wealthy merchant. Amma had grown up in a world of privilege, her beauty captivating those around her, yet her heart remained as distant as the far-off mountains. Kofi's love for Amma was deep and unwavering, born from a single glance he'd stolen years ago. Since that moment, every step he took, every hardship he endured, seemed to draw him closer to a dream that he could not escape. Amma, however, hardly noticed him. To her, Kofi was just another village boy, a kind, simple soul who held no allure to her life, which she dreamed would carry her far beyond the borders of their small village. But Kofi's heart was stubborn. He clung to his love, believing that one day Amma might see him as he truly was and feel the warmth he carried for her. His family, well aware of his longing, tried to caution him gently, reminding him of the reality he refused to see. Despite their words, Kofi remained steadfast. Little did he know that a moment was fast approaching, a chance that would put him in grave danger and would show just how far his love for Amma would take him, a love that might cost him everything. One hot afternoon, as the villagers gathered for a festival celebrating the harvest, Kofi's life took an unexpected turn. Among the crowd, Amma's father, Mr. Aboagye, was seen walking with a merchant from a nearby village, a man known as Kwesi. Kwesi was wealthy, powerful, and twice Amma's age, his presence imposing yet cold. As the festivities carried on, Kofi noticed Mr. Aboagye pulling Amma aside, and he could sense the tension as her father spoke to her in a hushed yet forceful tone. Kofi's heart sank as he overheard snippets of their conversation. Mr. Aboagye had arranged for Amma to marry Kwesi, a union that would further strengthen the family's wealth and influence. The news spread quickly, casting a shadow over the village's celebrations. To Kofi, it was as if the ground had shifted beneath him. Amma was going to be married off to a man she barely knew, a man who could offer her comfort and status, yes, but who knew little of her dreams, her personality, her inner light. Kofi felt a surge of anger, mingling with a deep ache in his chest. He had always known that Amma was a world apart from him, yet he had held on to hope. But now, with her fate seemingly sealed, he felt the weight of his love for her turn to despair. Amma herself was a whirlwind of emotions, torn between her duty to her family and her desire for something more. She knew her father's expectations, and while she respected him, she felt trapped by his plans for her. Yet, seeing Kofi's expression across the courtyard, she looked away, unwilling to acknowledge the look of pain that flashed across his face. Kofi's family saw the distress in him and tried to reason with him. His elder brother Kwame, who often teased Kofi for his devotion to Amma, warned him sternly, "You are wasting your heart on someone who will never see you, Kofi. You are better off forgetting her." His mother, who watched him with sadness, tried to comfort him. "Love is a powerful thing, my son," she said, "but it can hurt the heart if it is not returned. Amma's path has already been decided." As he sat alone that evening, Kofi wrestled with his emotions. He knew he couldn't simply walk away. His heart wouldn't allow it. He thought of Amma's laughter, the way her eyes sparkled under the sunlight, and the kindness he believed she carried. buried under her indifference. But now she was bound to marry a man with no love for her heart or her dreams. He felt helpless, a feeling foreign to him, a man who was always resilient, always able to overcome hardships for his family's sake. He realized that he could either watch from afar as Amma's future was decided for her, or he could act. Unbeknownst to Kofi, he had attracted the attention of an unlikely antagonist, his cousin Nana. Nana had always been envious of Kofi's strength, his work ethic, and, most of all, the admiration people had for him. He couldn't understand why everyone saw Kofi as a hero, when he was, in his view, just a simple farmer. Now, seeing Kofi's distress over Amma, Nana felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. To him, it was justice. Even the perfect Kofi had weaknesses, and he silently vowed to keep that flame of discontent burning in Kofi's heart, relishing his cousin's pain. As the days passed, Kofi's determination grew, while Nana continued to stoke his doubts. And so, the stage was set. Kofi knew the risks, but was ready to face them, ready to do anything for the woman who held his heart, even if she would never truly hold it in return. With Amma's marriage arranged, Kofi's heart was in turmoil. Though his love for her was strong, he was painfully aware of his limitations. Amma belonged to a world of wealth and power, while he was simply a farmer. But something in him refused to accept this fate passively. In his heart, he held the hope that he might somehow change her future and win her heart, even if he had to sacrifice everything. As Kofi began to take quiet steps toward his goal, his cousin Nana became more intent on making his life difficult. Nana was quick to see that Kofi was acting out of his usual steady character, a change that Nana saw as an opportunity to sow discord. He began spreading rumors around the village that Kofi was dishonoring his family by pursuing a woman above his status. He whispered to the elders that Kofi's actions would bring shame upon them all. Soon, the village elders summoned Kofi to speak, their faces stern and voices heavy with disapproval. "Kofi," the chief elder began, "we have heard unsettling things. A man's honor is in his conduct, and you're a farmer, humble, respected. Yet we hear that you chase after a woman promised to another, a woman who is beyond your reach. You are turning your back on tradition. This is not the Kofi we know." The accusation hurt, but Kofi remained steadfast. "I do not mean to bring dishonor," he replied earnestly, "but I cannot silence my heart. I only wish to help Amma, to give her the freedom to choose her own future." Yet the elders warned him, and he left with their words weighing heavily on his heart. Despite their judgment, Kofi couldn't give up. But things only got harder. Soon after, he was falsely accused by Nana of stealing goods from the village storehouse, an accusation that, though proven false, added a mark on his reputation. Nana seemed relentless, finding any way to undermine Kofi's position in the village, from ruining his tools to spreading tales of Kofi's supposed selfish ambitions. Kofi's strength was tested again and again. He often found himself working longer hours to make up for the broken tools and lost crops that Nana sabotaged. Exhausted but undeterred, Kofi continued his efforts to gain Amma's attention, often sneaking away to visit her with small gifts, hoping to spark even a flicker of affection. Amma would thank him politely but dismissively, her interest as distant as ever. One evening, when he was nearly at his breaking point, Kofi found unexpected support from his friend Abena, a young woman from a neighbouring village who visited often to help with the harvest. Abena had long admired Kofi's kindness and determination, even though she knew his heart belonged to Amma. Sensing his pain, she approached him with quiet sympathy. "Kofi," she said softly, "it pains me to see you suffer like this. You deserve someone who truly sees you." Her words were like a balm to Kofi's weary spirit, a reminder that his worth was recognized, even if not by the one he desired. Abena continued to lend him support, and her presence helped him bear the mounting challenges. But the obstacles only grew. One day, Mr. Aboagi, having heard rumors of Kofi's continued visits to Amma, confronted him. His voice was filled with disdain, his gaze stern. "Kofi," he said, "you're a stubborn fool, trying to court my daughter when her path has already been set. If you continue this foolishness, you will have more to worry about than mere rumours." Kofi's spirit wavered, but he felt compelled to stand up for himself. Amma deserves to be with someone who loves her, not someone chosen for her out of convenience. I do not mean to insult your family, Mr. Aboji, but I believe that love should have a voice in these decisions. Fury flashed in Mr. Abogi's eyes and he ordered Kofi to leave at once, his threats hanging in the air. But Kofi didn't back down. Though shaken, he resolved to continue his efforts, even if it meant enduring ridicule or worse. The weeks passed, and the rumours surrounding Kofi only intensified. Nana continued his schemes, even trying to convince the villagers that Kofi was cursed, that his obsession with Amma was the work of dark spirits. Some in the village began to avoid Kofi, fearful of the ill luck they believed he might bring. Through all this, Kofi's strength was a thin, fraying thread. He found moments of solace with Abena, who listened to his struggles without judgment and encouraged him to consider what he truly desired for his own life, apart from Amma. "Sometimes, Kofi," she whispered one night as they watched the stars, "the heart clings to what it cannot have. But there is beauty all around, if only we open our eyes." These words lingered in Kofi's mind, but his love for Amma was unyielding. The obstacles he faced, however, only grew. Finally, when the day of Amma's wedding approached, Kofi knew he had to make a choice: let go or take a final drastic step to prove his love, regardless of the cost. As Amma's wedding day approached, Kofi's spirit was hanging by a thread. Rumours continued to swirl. His family's patience had worn thin, and the villagers who once respected him now avoided him. Even his mother, who had supported him from the start, could no longer hide her concern. "My son," she said, her voice filled with sorrow, "you have given so much to this love, but what has it given you in return? I fear for you." Yet Kofi's heart would not let him rest. With each passing day, his resolve only grew, even as he felt himself unravelling. Then, just 2 days before the wedding, the final blow came. He heard whispers that Nana had told Amma about Kofi's unwavering pursuit, painting him as a desperate, obsessive figure who could not take no for an answer. According to Nana, Amma had dismissed Kofi as nothing more than a foolish dreamer who had wasted his life on a hopeless fantasy. She reportedly laughed, remarking that she could never love a man with such little sense or ambition. The words struck Kofi like a physical blow, shattering the fragile hope he had held onto for so long. He felt a deep, consuming despair as he imagined Amma mocking him, all the while preparing to marry another man. Every kind look he had imagined, every small gesture he had misread as affection, all of it seemed like a cruel illusion. Kofi was left questioning everything: his choices, his worth, even his very identity. For the first time, he felt truly lost. That night, Kofi sat alone by the river, staring into the water as though searching for answers in its dark, swirling depths. The moonlight cast a pale glow, illuminating his weary face as he grappled with his heartbreak. He had sacrificed so much for love, endured the shame, the rumours, the isolation, yet it had all come to this. He felt a hollowness in his chest, a profound sorrow that left him questioning whether he had any fight left in him at all. In this moment of despair, he realised how alone he truly was. Even the stars above seemed indifferent, their distant light unable to comfort him. Tears he had held back for years finally fell, carrying with them the weight of his unrequited love, his dashed hopes, and the pain of his rejection. As he sat in silence, overwhelmed by his sorrow, a soft rustling from behind caught his attention. It was Abena, who had been watching him from afar, her heart aching for the friend she had come to admire so deeply. She approached him with quiet steps, her face filled with understanding and compassion. "Kofi," she said gently, sitting beside him, "I know you are hurting, more than words can express. I know this love has meant the world to you, but perhaps it is time to see the world beyond this love." Kofi looked at her, his eyes red and weary. How, Abena? How do I let go when I have given so much of myself? I thought my love for Amma would change something, would make her see me, understand me. But now, I see it was all in vain. Abena reached out, placing her hand on his. Sometimes, love is a lesson, not a reward. You have shown a heart that few people could ever understand. But Kofi, the world is wide, and there are others who see your worth, who see the strength and goodness in you. Her words, though gentle, resonated deeply within him, stirring a faint glimmer of hope amid his sorrow. She continued, her voice soft but steady. Maybe this love was meant to show you what you are capable of. Perhaps it's time to open your heart to new dreams, new paths. There is life beyond Amma, beyond this heartache, and you are not alone. Kofi looked into Abena's eyes and saw something he hadn't noticed before, a quiet, unwavering affection that had been there all along. It wasn't the grand passion he had felt for Amma, but something different, something warmer and more sustaining. In that moment, he felt a flicker of possibility, a whisper of a new path he might take. He didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, he felt a small, fragile sense of peace. With Abena's encouragement, he stood up, feeling the weight of his heartache, yet also sensing the strength he had gained from it. As they walked back to the village together, Kofi knew he had reached the end of one journey and was perhaps beginning another. There was pain ahead, certainly, but he also felt the first hint of freedom, a freedom to finally choose his own path, a life that was his alone. In the early dawn of Amma's wedding day, Kofi awoke with a feeling of quiet resolve. The heaviness that had plagued him was now a dull ache, but it no longer held him captive. Abena's words from the night before echoed in his mind, giving him the strength to rise and face the day. Though he knew Amma's marriage would mean the end of his dreams, he also felt a deep urge to free himself from the burden he had carried for so long. Today he would let go. As the sun rose, the village prepared for the grand wedding. Drums echoed through the air, and villagers bustled about, dressed in their finest clothes. Kofi watched from afar, knowing his presence would not be welcome at the celebration. However, he had one last act of courage to perform. He made his way to Mr. Abuagi's compound, ignoring the curious glances and whispers that followed him. When he arrived, he was met with surprise and disdain. Mr. Abuagi, dressed in a regal robe for the wedding, frowned at Kofi, clearly irritated. "What are you doing here, boy? Do you have no shame?" he sneered, his voice laced with contempt. Kofi stood tall, his voice steady. "I have come to speak to Amma just once, and then I will go. I have no intention of disturbing your celebration, but I must say goodbye." Before Mr. Abuagi could protest, Amma stepped forward, her gaze wary but curious. She looked radiant, adorned in gold and fine silks, yet there was a flicker of sadness in her eyes. Kofi approached her, his heart pounding, but his mind calm. "Amma," he began, his voice soft yet firm. "I loved you with all I had. I wanted nothing more than to make you happy, to share my life with you. But I realize now that true love is not about holding on to someone who does not wish to stay. I only hope you find happiness in this life, whether it is here or beyond." Amma looked at him, her expression unreadable. For a brief moment, Kofi thought he saw a glimmer of regret in her eyes, a softening he had never seen before. But then she nodded, as though understanding the weight of his words. "Thank you, Kofi," she whispered. "I wish you peace." With a final nod, Kofi turned and walked away, feeling an unexpected lightness in his heart. He had finally freed himself from the love that had once consumed him. But just as he stepped outside the compound, he was met by a surprising sight. Standing in the path was his estranged uncle, Yor, a man he hadn't seen in years. Yor had left the village many seasons ago, and rumours said he had become a successful merchant in distant lands. Tall and dignified, Yor smiled as he approached Kofi, his eyes shining with pride. "You think you're better than all of us now, don't you, Kofi?" Nana sneered, his jealousy burning. Kofi met his cousin's gaze with calm resolve. Nana, I never sought to be better than anyone. I only wanted to be true to myself. Whatever anger you carry, it is yours alone to bear. I will not let it control my life any longer. Nana, unable to respond, scowled and turned away. His bitterness would now be his alone to carry, as Kofi was finally free from his shadow. For the first time, Kofi felt unburdened, ready to face a future defined by his own choices. With the blessings of his family and Abena's warm farewell, Kofi left the village with his uncle by his side. As they journeyed onward, Kofi felt a newfound strength blossoming within him. He was no longer the lovesick boy, chasing after a dream that was never his. He was a man, ready to embrace the life that lay ahead.
Months passed, and Kofi's life changed in ways he could never have imagined. Traveling with his Uncle Yaw, he encountered new people, cultures, and ideas. Yaw was not only a successful merchant, but also a wise mentor who taught Kofi how to navigate the world of trade, instilling in him both confidence and skill. Over time, Kofi found himself managing an entire branch of his uncle's business, overseeing trade routes, negotiating deals, and earning the respect of everyone around him. Through hard work, he began to prosper, building a name for himself as an honest and diligent man. With time, Kofi's wounds from the past began to heal. He came to realize that love was not about sacrificing oneself for someone who could not return that love. Instead, it was about mutual respect, shared dreams, and the kindness and care he had once overlooked. Slowly, he opened his heart again. One day, as he visited his home village, he ran into Abena. They spoke for hours, sharing stories and laughter as they walked familiar paths together. Kofi found himself drawn to her warmth and compassion, the quiet love she had shown him when he needed it most. With her by his side, Kofi discovered a love that was gentle, enduring, and real. Before long, they married, and Abena became not only his partner but his closest friend, helping him in his ventures and becoming a beloved figure in their growing community. Back in the village, things had changed as well. Nana's bitterness had finally caught up with him. As he continued to scheme and attempt to bring others down, he found himself isolated. The villagers grew tired of his jealousy and spite, and he lost the respect he once craved. Seeing Kofi's success from afar, Nana was forced to confront his own shortcomings, recognizing that his own jealousy had only brought him loneliness. Though he never apologized, he lived in the shadow of Kofi's story, reminded daily of the consequences of his actions. Amma, too, had her own journey. Though she had married as her family desired, she eventually found herself in an unhappy marriage, burdened by expectations and the coldness of a life she hadn't chosen for herself. She heard of Kofi's successes and the happy life he had built, and it made her wonder about the decisions she had made. In time, Amma realized the value of what she had lost, understanding that the security she once valued could not replace the warmth and sincerity Kofi had offered her. In the end, Kofi's life was full and rich, not only in material success, but in the love and peace he had found with Abena. Together they raised a family, teaching their children the values that had sustained Kofi through his own trials: resilience, kindness, and the courage to follow one's own heart. Kofi often shared stories of his journey with his children, imparting the wisdom he had gained. The village remembered Kofi as a man who had overcome heartbreak and betrayal, a man who had risen above adversity without bitterness. In the evenings, as he sat with his family under the stars, he would often recall a proverb his mother had once told him: "The heart that gives, gathers." Kofi had given his heart to others, even when it seemed he had nothing left, and in return he had gathered love, respect, and a life richer than he could have ever imagined. The story of Kofi's journey became a lesson for the entire village. It taught them that life's trials, though painful, often led to greater wisdom, and that true love could only thrive where it was returned. Most of all, Kofi's story reminded them that while the path of kindness and resilience might be challenging, it was ultimately the path to true happiness and fulfillment. To all who joined this journey with Kofi, thank you for watching. His story reminds us of the power of resilience, the importance of self-worth, and the true nature of love. Have you ever found yourself holding on to something or someone that wasn't meant for you? Or maybe you've faced hardships that led you to a better path. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your reflections in the comments below, or tell us what you've learned from Kofi's journey. Don't forget to like this video if it inspired you, and share it with someone who might need a reminder to keep going, even when life seems hard. Let us know where you're watching from. We love connecting with viewers around the world. Thank you again, and until our next story, remember that strength and kindness always lead to brighter days.